Hey, I'm Jim Price at Jim Price Show Daily Update. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll call it... Oh, wait, I have to look to the government first because all answers come from the government. Thank you, government. You're the best. You haven't gaslighted or programmed me in any way whatsoever. You would never harm me. What in the world are you saying, Jim? All right, here we go. February 17th, it's a Tuesday, 2026. Well, guys, thank you so much for being here. And yes, I will continue to say those kind of things about the date and time because it is. Dave Salee is here. That's Central Kansas. That's right. Dave Salee's in the house. We got Edward showing up saying hi to everybody. All right, Ed, good stuff out there. Thank you for being a part of the show. All right, let's see. We got bagoo. Today we're going to visit AOC, and it really is one of those things that you just kind of like, wow, okay. She just does not know how to handle herself, and we need to figure that out for her. She is not a good person.
This little blue pill has been the go-to for over 20.
Why did that come through in audio? You stupid creeps. I hate when they do that. Anyway, AOC is going to be on the agenda today. We're going to watch a couple of her things. Now, one thing, too, guys, I know that we're all still thinking that we're going into Iran because they have nuclear weapons. Let's just all be honest with ourselves and say we're going into Iran because they want the artifacts of the Stargate that Iran has been in control of for a long, long time. Anyway, I wonder if, let me ask you a quick question. Let's see how many of you guys are paying attention out there. Let's say there are Stargates, okay? And let's say that Jesus went out and went to Western Asia and the Western India, maybe into Iran and those kind of areas. What if actually Jesus, when he was traveling until he came back onto the stage where he popped back up in his 30s, what if he had actually been visiting those areas and actually experienced the Stargate technology himself? Anybody? Nothing? Nobody? Okay. All right. Well, I'm just asking for a friend on that. I just wonder sometimes if we haven't gotten ourselves in a little bit of a hamstring or a box when we see a lot of these things do cross over. Hey, David Glovin, good to see you, man. Thank you so much for being here. Dave Glovin, listen. I think I've got your cell phone number. I think I got your text message or be able to text you. But, Dave, diatomaceous earth, half a teaspoon. Next day, bentonite clay, half a teaspoon. I want you to start doing that, and I just want you to start doing that, Dave. That's a thing I needed to get out to you. I'll make sure you are doing that. And also, I want you to get into creatine. So, all right. What if the Virgin Mary was actually his Stargate? Ooh, Dave, don't be cheating. Don't be getting ahead of the class now, Dave. Dave, what are you doing? That is very possible, guys. The sad part of it is that we're not really paying attention to the facts of the earth and what we have in actual archaeological stuff we can see with our own two eyes, that we don't need a professor or an archaeologist to then somehow make up a story that they think, oh, and this hieroglyph means that Princess Leia was going to destroy the starship. You know that's a lot of what they're doing, right? They're like, oh, and then Darth Vader. Darth Vader comes along and says, I am not your father. Oh, wait, no, he says you are. Does he have to pay back child support to Luke if he's of age? Does he have to do any of that? So he could say, like, I'm not your father, but, like, still be his father, but he's, like, worried about back child support? Could that be a thing? Well, if we rewrite Star Wars in the modern day wokeism, because that's where we were progressing, right? We've progressed to this, right? We've elevated to wokeism, right? So guys, listen, we're so evolved. Think about how far the evolution of things goes when we go into Star Wars and to Battlestar Galactica and Star Trek eras of our life. Hey, Sabrina, good to see you. Hey, from Memphis. What's up, Memphis? You know, I need to spend a little time in Memphis. Not because of you, Sabrina, but I've got some curiosities about Memphis. I know you guys got some tough areas. I've driven through Memphis a lot in my travels over the last 4 to 5 years of speaking at different events across this country. It has been amazing how many times that the portal of me going to the southeast of America, now from where I'm sitting, I'm looking directly south, and to the southeast of me, every time I head in that direction, I go through Memphis. It does. Maybe Apple Maps just likes Memphis in general. Hey, Jeanette, what's up? Jeanette, yeah. Maybe I need to go through Memphis, and then I go down to Atlanta and say hi to Jeanette. But she works all the time, so I'd have to like, hey, how's it going? Cool, you're at work. I got to go. But anyway, so Memphis is special. I did get to eat at Dempsey's Burger. Is that right? Was it Dempsey Burger? Right, no. It was a burger joint downtown. Me, Larry, and Tony, we were heading down to an event in Florida. And we were driving through Memphis, and we went through the downtown. I was like, hey, let's stop and get a burger here. Let's kind of, do a little downtown. It's like, the Brickyard area, whatever they call it, the revitalization. And Dave says maybe Memphis is a Stargate. I think the Grand Canyon's a Stargate, but what do I know? Or where the great big water comet hit was probably the biggest Stargate of them all, where it hit in the Gulf of America. If the comet hit 13,000 years ago, according to the Younger Dryas era ending, then maybe that was the center of the world, because Atlantis, the city of Atlantis, is just off of Florida. They have LiDAR'd and laid out the runways, columns, statues, and temples just off the coast of Florida, by the way, guys, listen. The continental shelf. Do you guys know what the continental shelf is? Let me stop something for a second. All right. Oh, Huey's. That's right, Sabrina. Yeah. Huey's. I stopped there. I got a T-shirt. I bought a T-shirt there. So, anyway, guys, according to the Younger Dryas theory, because everything's a theory. We know shit, guys. We really do. We barely even know how you and I, okay, maybe I know more than some, but you and I supposedly don't even know how our own body works, okay? But yet we're still working on the theory of the Younger Dryas, which says that the polar caps melted instantly overnight. Now, if there was a comet, which is water, comets are water. They're not an ass droid. Is that a droid that goes in your ass? Ha! See what I did there? So a comet... Courtney Allen, what's up? We just watched that movie, one of my favorites. Well, look at you. So when the comet hit where the Gulf of America is now, and it displaced all the dirt, creating the Great Plains and washing off the tops of the Rockies and parts of the Appalachian Mountains and destroying most of the things that were in its way. And then as that water spread globally and it went all the way around, creating the Great Flood, which every Mayan, Incan, Egyptian, Bible, Quran, Talbot, Mormon Bible, they all say there was a Great Flood. All of the religions, all of the societies always have the big wave, the big... Now, if the comet hits there, displaces enough Earth to create the Gulf of America, which is the only divot we have on Earth. The Gulf of America is not a water flow region where water flowed out and created a cavity. It is an impact. Now, if that water, that size of and I did this with Gronk, a 91 mile across. Hey, Josephine, what's up? She says, good afternoon, Jim Price. Do you have a voice that deep, though, Josephine? I don't imagine you do, so it's not fair that I did that. Hi, Jim Price. My name is Josephine. Anyway, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Now, a 91 mile across comet hits the Gulf of America. And it creates an amazing divot in the earth. And I shall call it the Gulf of America. That was the worst Trump impression I could ever do because I don't do his voice very well. Courtney Allen. Jim Price family asking for prayers for a friend, please. His name is Toot. Okay. Well, it's his nickname. Okay, so insurance isn't working with him. He can't work. They could use some prayers. Well, absolutely. Clot in his lung. Heart doctor on the schedule now. Ooh-wee. Well, David Glevin, I would believe that the Gulf of America was just south of the capital of the earth. And I do believe if you go back to the Rainbow Bridge, you go back to Thor, you go back to that whole story of the gods, I wonder if we really didn't have, like, the center of the earth was really where that was at, and that's why we have so little or so few Tartarian buildings in America. But as you get further away from the Gulf of America, you find more and more ancient wood and stone structures, but you find shells and sea creature, crustacean type artifacts of shells themselves, of all the different types of barnacles. And all the different types of coral on tops of mountains that are miles high. So if this comet that is 91 miles wide, and that creates enough water that hits the Gulf of America, and it puts more water on the Earth, so the continental shelf, that's that little shelf we have, and then there's that big ditch called the Mariana Trench, and you got the Atlantic Ocean and all that stuff. But that continental shelf that does that gentle slope, don't you think of that as actually kind of like a shoreline like we have now? Well, anyway, when you raise the water for adding a 91-mile comet to the Earth, you displace the water all across the Earth, and you melt the two polar ice caps. It brings the water directly up from the continental shelf, directly to what we have today. If you melt both polar ice caps, which they said in the Younger Dryas, that's what happened, that both caps, they did something like this. So what if we were in some type of battle for this planet? What's some of this? So we were the leftovers. We were the ones in the caves. We were the ones that didn't quite die. We were the ones that kind of figured it out and swam a little too much. You know, the Noahs of the day, right? Because all stories have Noahs. So my point of this is this 91-mile comet comes down and it hits the Earth, and we're in this battle. Maybe some entity, maybe some whatever, or just the happenstance of the spiral spin of our little solar system through the universe, through the Milky Way that goes through the universe. Maybe there was just this happenstance that this water comet hit us. Maybe. Maybe that's just what it did. And it added just enough water and just enough agitation that we have now what we have today. But that's why we find the Tartarian buildings in 4 to 8 to 20 feet of dirt. That's why we find that we see these buildings that are halfway covered up, and some of them are half destroyed, and some of the bricks look like they're sweating, or they're like marshmallows melting, or they look like they're like they're melting, right? They have this melting look to it, like chocolate. So why is it the layers that we see as we drive through our countrysides and we go down the freeways in this country of ours, and we see these layer upon layers upon layers upon layers, and you're saying, well, that's because the ocean was there, and then it created that layer, and then the ocean was there, and it created that layer, and it created the ocean was there. But what if all those layers were actually superheated, liquefied rock and dirt and animals and people and things and trees and all the beauty of the day, and it was absolutely just boom, and it shot out into layers across the plains. And as it silted back in and the water started to get this way, but it was still so hot that those layers solidified into rock. Because again, how did the rock that is this far below the dirt, right here, how did this rock get millions of pounds of pressure to create that rock? See, the areas that we live in aren't areas where the tectonic plates are lifting each other and creating new, right? You see where I'm going with that? The reptilian cities, well, I would say the reptilian cities are probably either what's in the center of the earth or in the ocean. And guys, I don't know. I'm telling you right now, I don't think we have aliens. I think we just have forgotten families, forgotten relationships, forgotten species. What we call species. Edward says, Fat Tuesday greetings. Is on Zoom whenever you're ready. Oh, shoot a dog. Okay, all right. I am going in now. Like Asher, I'm totally sorry about that, brother. I am totally sorry. Sorry. Anyway, I was going off on the Younger Dryas thing, but I do have something else going on. I'm going to have to go ahead and get my special guest tuned in here. I had a complete brain fart, guys. I will tell you what, though. I will say that a lot of that, I would say, probably has more to do with the medications that I was put under when I was in the hospital. There is still some of that there. I catch the little things where the medication. Okay. So he is not there. Oh, there he is. Okay. All right. So anyway, I do have those little glitches here and there with that, so I do have to kind of deal with it once in a while. So I'm getting better and better about remembering things, but I still have those little glitches from the meds. So we'll see how that goes. All right. Let me see what I can do. Mark, are you ready, buddy?
I'm ready.
Okay, well, I'll get. Well, he already jumped in. Hey, there's Mark, everybody. Mark Vargas.
Great to be with you.
I appreciate you, sir. Let me tune this up a little bit. Get me sitting next to you. All right, we're sitting right there, and you are right there on my shoulder, partner. Mark Vargas, welcome to the Jim Price Show. Have you been on here before?
I believe I have. Yeah, I don't think this is my maiden voyage.
Yeah. I think it was about a year, 9 months ago, 8 months ago. Anyway, Mark, can you introduce yourself? Oh, yeah, obviously your name is Mark. Go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll chop it up from there.
Well, greetings from the People's Republic of Chicago, owner and editor-in-chief of Illinois Review, the largest conservative news publication in Illinois, and I'm a Newsmax columnist. Again, just happy to be back on the show.
No, absolutely. Now that you said you're the Illinois guy, or the Illinois, absolutely, we had you on just a few months ago. Great stuff. Now, there has now AOC went out and was giving me. I mean, she was putting the fear of God into me as a conservative, knowing that a powerful voice and an intellect of her size is on the other side of the court or the other side of the ball from us. I feel very. Anyway, I couldn't do it. Her and Gavin Newsom both really kind of wet the bed. There's another word we can say, but that's the S word, and we'll keep the graphics to a minimum. But both of them kind of went dirt to dirt. We're allowed to say that now, right? I mean, checking for. But they kind of went dirt to dirt over Munich, and then and they were trying to lean into the next coming election. But what was your opinion, or what did you see, or what is your rendition of AOC and her brilliance as an actor, and then Gavin?
Well, I think she should probably go back to bartending. That might be a little bit easier for but just an international embarrassment. I mean, even members within her own party, they're embarrassed by their performance or lack thereof on the world stage. I mean, the fact that she called from her hotel room there immediately afterwards to the New York Times is proof that she knew that she messed up and she was trying to clean it up, but the toothpaste is already out of the tube. Listen, this is what happens. The Democrats don't have an agenda other than blocking President Trump. This is Trump derangement syndrome now on the international stage. They don't want to solve the crime crisis in our major cities. They want to keep our borders open and allow illegals to flood our communities. Mm-hmm. They don't want to fix health care They want to shut down the government again. We've got another partial government shutdown. They just shut it down for 43 days before the end of the year. This is proof that the Democrats don't have messaging. They don't have a strategy other than attack President Donald Trump. And when they're asked actual real questions, substantive questions, they can't come up with the answers.
Right. Well, and that's kind of the crazy part of this. Okay, what's going to happen with Gavi when he gave $60 million to Planned Parenthood last week out of the emergency rainy day fund, but yet his state is running a deficit? I mean, are they not situationally aware? Am I just being hypercritical? I'm like, well, I'm doing it from the heart of me, because I want to give that money to abortions. But doesn't he need more population to pay taxes? I don't know. Anyway, sorry, but answer the original question. Is this guy going to really be able to leapfrog these issues or these things? Is this something that we think we will forget?
Well, they're not used to actual real questions. And we're not even talking about the $250 billion, and that's the most conservative estimate we have of waste, fraud, and abuse since he's been governor. It's much, much higher than that. And that's why I am confident that the waste, fraud, and abuse that's been exposed in Minnesota, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Wait until you go into California and in Illinois, where they've had one party rule. It'll make your socks go up and down. And the fact that Gavin Newsom hasn't had to address those issues is yet more proof that he's not going to be able to handle the pressures of a presidential campaign. He couldn't even handle the pressure of a international trip. And we're now seeing the effects of that. But listen, the widespread waste, fraud, and abuse in California, wait till they start asking questions about that. He's not going to have any answers.
Right. Well, he was over in doing the whole World Economic Forum, which I thought, again, it would be like me showing up going, all right, hey, listen, Trump, hey, everybody pay attention to Jim Price here. I would have no place there. I mean, I would ask questions, be the guy who does interviews maybe, but he showed up and then did that whole, didn't he say that somebody's doing knee pads or something? I mean, again, you got to walk me through that. How are you presidential? I mean, I get Trump's done a lot of breaking the rules. Get me, I got it. But how do you get there on that path?
Yeah, I mean, and he probably flew over there on a private jet, which is, my favorite. Let's talk about, among other things, climate change while flying on a private jet and having a 10-car motorcade. But setting that aside, it was sheer desperation running around the World Economic Forum, running to every television camera he possibly could to get airtime to sort of validate to his constituents back home, that he's on a business trip, but really sort of a fact-finding mission as this guy tries to explore a potential presidential run.
Now think about that. Okay, so is this when we say that when someone is a true narcissist, when they really, and I'm not using narcissism because somebody is bettering me or, making me feel bad, but people use that narcissist word illegally, I think, like it's a bad way. But he really is not, is he just that? Does he really think he can just bullshit his way out of it? Or is he really that, is he just forgets it that easy? Which way do you think it is for him?
I mean, he's so out of touch with reality. I mean, California, that area, they're out of touch with reality already, the Democrats.
Yeah.
He's wealthy. He came from wealth. So he doesn't understand what normal people, what his everyday average constituents, what they're thinking, what they're doing. He doesn't understand any of that stuff. And you do get embroiled in your own sort of narcissism, and it's laughable. But, this is why this guy uses taxpayer money like it's, like it comes out of thin air. The billions and billions and billions of dollars that have been spent to provide free health care for illegal aliens while his own residents, his own people are struggling and dying and homeless, and all these services that are going that are unfunded because of the tens and tens and tens of billions of dollars that have been spent on illegals, the waste, fraud, and abuse, as we said, $250 billion. But this is narcissism playing out in real time with a touch of Trump derangement syndrome to sprinkle on top.
I think the state of Kansas, where I live, I think our entire budget is $280 billion a year. Like they screwed off an entire year of our budget. Does that make sense? Like that's what we're up against. Now, this whole thing with Gavin But what about like places like New Hampshire and Vermont, where there's been these quiet strongholds of Democrats, and they've been kind of they're quietly just running their little game, their little numbers game. How many of those are we not looking at? I mean, we know, yeah, we see Chicago. And by the way, you guys have kind of done another thing legislatively this week. So let me ask you that in a minute. But you got places, you got the New Yorks, you got the Californias. But what about those little stronghold of places like that, like up in that Northeast where we really haven't been? It's been real quiet because it's the Hamptons. We don't talk about that. But is that going to come out? Do you think there's things going up there?
Absolutely. But listen, I think a lot of the silence is golden. And why are they silent? Because I don't think even these Northeast Democrats relate to today's Democrat Party. It's not their party. It's the party of AOC and Mandami. And something that's very interesting that the mainstream media likes to talk about, how Mandami, he won New York. But what's an interesting fact is he got 18 points fewer than Kamala Harris. And we know how progressive Kamala Harris is. This is a California Democrat. When you got a guy that comes in that gets 18 points fewer than Kamala Harris, that tells you right there that what Mandami represents is not what the everyday Democrat New Yorkers believe in.
No.
And so the lack of noise that we're hearing in the Northeast, I think, is indicative that they don't recognize today's Democrat Party.
No, but did you know that Mandandi has no authority to set rents, taxes, buses? All that stuff is ran by the state. You talk about a mother country. The cities and the counties don't even run their own stuff. They're kind of like arbiters of it, or guardians, but they don't get to manage really the money. And so all those he got me. I thought, man, this guy is really gonna. If he does this, I can't even. I just don't even imagine what New York would be, right? And then to find out he has no authority to do any zero of the shit that he said. How did nobody ever call him on that? I missed it, but there had to be someone smarter than me out there.
I mean, imagine running for an office as high as mayor of New York City, and you don't even read the roles and responsibilities of the mayor. And you had Hochul that shot down everything right away. Free transportation. Nope, not doing that. Just wait until what little authority he does have. Wait until you've got crisis and grief counselors running to shootings, the scenes of these mass shootings are going to be happening in New York City, and the mass exodus of NYPD officers that want to leave the department under his leadership. It's going to be remarkable. You're not going to be calling 911. You're going to be calling crisis counselors, and that's going to spell real trouble.
Well, I've met a lot of social workers in my life, had a deaf daughter, and I tell you, honestly, I've never been impressed with any of them. I'm sorry if you have a social worker degree, anybody who's listening right now, but I honestly, I don't know if they make it worse. I mean, it's almost like they're looking for the problem to solve, and if there's not one, then they create one. And sometimes I see their necessity. Trust me, I think a lot of police calls are mental stuff, but when it's the crime, it's the emergency, we know that that's the wrong thing. So let's get back to your territory of the world there by the old the Great Lakes there. What is? Did you guys just do something recently that was hitting the news? There was something. It was either one of your provinces or the counties or the state. Were you guys legislatively doing something? Just it was kind of big. I can't remember. Or you guys are just good.
Well, there's a couple of things. Number one, the Cook County State's Attorney, which encompasses downtown Chicago, just dropped the charges of 19 protesters who were out trying to attack federal ICE agents at the Broadview detention facility. And that's going to have a very chilling effect. We've seen a 1,300% increase on physical attacks on ICE agents, an 8,000% increase on attacks on federal ICE agents using vehicles. Right. And now you've got the Cook County State's Attorney in downtown Chicago dropping the charges of 19 protesters and rioters who were there to do only one thing, to physically obstruct and assault federal ICE agents whose job was to arrest the most violent and dangerous and vicious illegal alien criminals in Chicago. And so, again, I think this is going to have a chilling effect because the message is going to be crystal clear to ICE agents who are conducting critical ICE operations. And by the way, for your listeners and for your viewers, ICE agents don't even go after, not only do they go after illegal aliens that are dangerous to the community, they also go after human traffickers. So when Democrats want to talk about, we want to defund ICE, well, you're also defending the mechanism and the law enforcement agency that's going after human traffickers who are trafficking our children and young girls every single day. But it's going to have a chilling effect, and it sends the message to every protester and rioter in downtown Chicago that if you assault ICE agents, if you go in and attack ICE agents, the Cook County State's Attorney has your back.
Yeah. Yeah, it is the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard of. And I love the guys who do the thing, well, hey, if you really support having aliens here, how many can you take in your home tonight? I can't take anybody in my house. I'm like, oh, really? Do we have a housing shortage? Anyway, so when you guys, okay, Jim,
so, you brought up an interesting point, because you can actually look it up. It's hilarious. Yeah. There's a city council member in Naperville, Illinois, about an hour west of Chicago. He brought up that exact point as they were debating it in a city council meeting about welcoming all these illegal aliens into our community. He actually prepared a sign-up sheet. It said to all my colleagues and the Democrats that are embracing these illegal aliens, they've got nowhere to stay. Will you sign up and volunteer your home for them to have a place to stay? I mean, they lost their minds.
How about just let them put a tent in your backyard? I mean, they don't have to live in your house, but just let them have a tent, access to the running water outside. Come on.
The comments were hysterical. How dare you suggest that they move into my house? You know, I'm at work and my wife and my children are home alone all day long. We don't want these illegal aliens, but yet they want them in our communities and our streets.
Yeah. And it is such hypocrisy in motion. And that's why it's hard to work against. And that's, again, guys, and listen, and I don't, Dave, I'm sorry, but this is my words, not your words. I'm just saying this in general. I am saying that we are in a civil war. We are now in a civil war. We are now currently battling, I meant Mark, sorry. We are now battling each other through race and through identity, and this is what is called a color revolution, right? Is that the right terminology? Am I getting to that right, Mark? And so the idea that we are doing this is, the sad part of it is if we don't stand the ground, and I say that at the end of the show, you know, hold the line, hold fast, do not give up, do not give in, we will win, I promise to make promise I can't keep. As long as we stay there, meaning that we hold on to who we are, we hold on to our conservative values. That doesn't have to be Christian or Judeo-Christian or whoever you think is your God. It just means that you're conservative, meaning that, you know, government is limited and freedoms and liberties are always come first. When we push that and we maintain that and we hold that energy, just like saying Santa Claus can't fly unless you believe in him, liberty and freedom will die if you don't believe in them. And it's absolutely necessary in this time as we're going through these things and things that he's going through within Chicago. This is like the Minnesota Attorney General, the top law enforcement officer, telling a congressional member that his transcripts that he was reading were a lie. And the top law enforcement officer of Minnesota said that his own words were lies. And he was sworn right there. So again, you guys have this now. You're just dropping charges against people. Are we going back to Antifa with the George Floyd thing again? Is that what we're recycling?
Well, you hit the nail on the head, and thanks for saying that. I mean, we really are engaged in a civil war, and you've got the Democrats that are inciting it. For example, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, he justifies going after ICE because he said that Donald Trump, and I quote, Donald Trump is still upset with the results of the Civil War. That's one example. Another example is he went in front of Chicago television cameras and blamed Richard Nixon for Chicago's crime crisis. Why did he blame Richard Nixon? I mean, how long? Richard Nixon hasn't been president for how long? Reason why he's blamed Richard Nixon is because when Nixon was president, he didn't invest enough federal dollars into the Chicago's south and west sides. And as a result, we're seeing violence and high crime. I mean, blaming Richard Nixon when Democrats have had a strong grip on control and power, not only in this state, but in the city for a very, very long time. The fact that they're calling ICE agents Gestapo, the secret police, domestic terrorists. Governor Pritzker went on the floor of the Illinois House of Representatives during a State address, and he said, this is the beginning of early Nazism.
Do you know Nazism? Nazis were only like one little segment group. It was like saying SEAL Team 6. Like you're calling an entire race or entire country of people SEAL Team 6. That's what Nazis were. They weren't all Nazis. It wasn't. Why do we move? Why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we allow ourselves to be victims of this? But by the way, remember political correctness? We couldn't say certain words, but now they can go around calling us a Nazi. They can say that we're white supremacists. We can say we're Gestapos. But how do we get to that point when a minute ago I couldn't say the word retard without it being a problem, right? I mean, this is we had to call it, it's a mental, retardation. And we call it, what was it? Couldn't call it retarded. It was what? Special needs. I'm like, why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we allow these things to creep in? But the very people who were the worst about that are now the worst about it with us. I mean, are they not seeing that in themselves? Or is this just the part of the play? Okay.
It's part of the plan and ultimate. I mean, the Democratic Party stands for hypocrisy. Do as I say, not as I do. And, we're just seeing this violent and dangerous rhetoric, and it's having dangerous consequences for federal ICE agents, for Trump supporters, for Republicans across the country. I mean, we are living in dangerous times. This is spiritual warfare. Yeah. This is what spiritual warfare looks like. This is good versus evil. And that's why it was so important for President Trump to win November's election. Imagine another 4 years of the auto-pen Biden administration. Where it would be on the world stage? How many more violent and dangerous illegal aliens would have poured into our country?
According to Epstein's email, Biden died in 2019. So I can't go there. You heard that one, right?
I did.
Anyway, sorry. I just had to throw that in there real quick for the comedy of it. But yeah, I mean, imagine that. I mean, the auto pen. Okay, so has that ever been resolved? Have we done it? Has that been fully? Or why did that drop off the news cycle? Where's that at?
I mean, I think the president made. I think it was an executive order that made auto pen signatures null and void, which is going to impact his presidential pardons and commutations. And so I anticipate the president readdressing this issue. He did it earlier, but obviously he's been going around the world just creating peace as the peacemaker. Our economy is soaring. The jobs numbers are like nobody's ever seen. We've got economists that said these tariffs wouldn't help the United States. In fact, it would hurt the United States. And in fact, it's done the opposite. And you've got CNN saying Donald Trump was right. Democrats are in real trouble. Our border is secure. We've had zero interactions on the border. Yeah. Zero interactions on the border. It's remarkable what President Trump has accomplished.
But that doesn't mean there isn't border crossings at the gate. People are using the gate. They're using the door. It's the way to say you can't come in. You just got to use the door over there. Don't be a jackass. Come in like everybody else does, right? I mean, that's what we've changed that system. Is what we wanted,
exactly
right?
So, that's exactly right. Yeah, that's important. Going through the door. Yeah. Don't climb over the fence. Go through the door, and we'll welcome you with open arms. But you got to go through the door.
Yeah, if you're climbing over my back fence, I don't have good feelings about you. If you're coming to my front door, I'm probably going to answer the door and say, hey, what's up? Can I help you? If you're like, hey, man, I'm just looking for a glass of water. Hey, dude, let me get you one. But you're climbing my back fence. I'm going to be, hey, bro, like we got to have a conversation, right? I've got to defend myself, but people don't think of it in that way. And let me ask you a quick question on this, Mark. If we think about how a lot of these people like Gavin and these others have gotten into these positions where they just bubble up to the top because of money and position and things, but they've never really had to create anything. And they've always used somebody else's money. Nancy Pelosi used somebody else's money. Gavin Newsom used somebody else's money. So going into government only seems natural because they get to use somebody else's money, right? So this is why it seems normal to them, I suppose?
It does. And Nancy Pelosi is another great example. Her net worth went up, $150 million over the last 10 years, with her legislative salary capped at like $172,000. Yeah. How does that happen? Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker was born on third base, thinks he hit a triple. Right. He's heir to the Hyatt Hotel fortune, and he's worth nearly $4 billion. Whose cousin, by the way, who runs the Hyatt Hotel as chairman, abruptly resigned yesterday. Because of all of the revelations in his cozy relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Oops. He had to resign. But Pritzker is another example. Job creation is virtually zero. We're nearly dead last in the country because of with job creation, and our economy But yet you think that a guy who's a billionaire who claims to be a successful businessman, how is this even possible? Because it was inherited, not earned, and they don't understand how to create jobs. They just know how to create chaos.
If you saw Pritzker anywhere, you didn't know who he was. He wasn't a mayor. He was or a governor. God dang, that's even worse. He wasn't a billionaire. He wasn't anything. Just as a man, you kind of go, but then he's out there acting like he's done something amazing because genetically he fell in line on something. I see the privilege there, but you guys have like probably one of the worst voting systems, like voting registers. You and Pennsylvania, I think you guys are trying to figure it out who gets to be the top dog in that. But there's been movement in Pennsylvania. So what are you guys doing about any of the elections, or do you see this as being just the same? We're just going to roll over a new person, a new Democrat into the same position.
Well, that's why I 100% support President Trump's The Save America Act, because number one, the president wants Democrats on record to say they're against the Save America Act, which is brilliant in itself. But more importantly, it's how we secure our elections. And nothing is more important than securing our elections in places like Chicago, where stealing elections is as American as apple pie. I mean, people talk about there is no election fraud. Ask any Chicago Democrat about election fraud and stealing elections. That's what they do.
I was going to say this. So, like, Mark, wait, maybe we're really confused here because they normally cheat. So cheating is normal. When you say stop cheating, they're like, hey, what are you talking about, mister? Whoa, this is what we normally do, right? Is that when that's what they're saying back to you, right? It's like, why are you even looking at this?
Well, I say this half jokingly, and it's half true. I mean, Democrats don't want, they still need the cemeteries to vote, and Trump's Save America Act will finally allow their constituents to rest in peace, because that is a fact. And, talk about legislation. There is pending legislation, and perhaps you were also thinking about this as well. There is pending legislation in Illinois state capitol that would allow Democrats to just mail-in ballots to any registered voter. They don't even have to request it. Yeah. They could just mail it to you. Right. And talk about screwing up the electoral process when there's no system other than let's just mail every Democrat voter a mail-in ballot, whether they use it or they don't use it. They can't track, so they can vote in person as many times as they want, and then they can send in a mail-in ballot. But one of the most interesting things that I think your listeners and viewers will learn from this is that a Chicago Democrat told me the best way to steal elections with mail-in ballots is you put the envelopes in a commercial-sized freezer, because after about 2 minutes, the envelopes freeze and they pop open. You could change the votes. You could do whatever you want. And then you pull them out and put them at room temperature. Once those envelopes are at room temperature, you can seal them, no problem, and it doesn't look like anyone has ever tampered with it.
Let me tell you something here, Mark. This is how much I know this is a matter of will. And I don't care if you want to use voter ID. I don't care if you want to use paper only. I don't care if you use electronic. I don't care if you got to put a thing in your bad spot. This is where it tells you its will. The lottery sells, I think it's like 78 million unique tickets every 2 times a week. And they know within seconds exactly the person who bought it, at what time, at what grocery store, with the camera, with the footage, and they know that person's been validated, and they know that within seconds. They've gone through 78 million or whatever it is lottery tickets, and within seconds they know that. And they can do that in that fast, right? So as a lottery, they can do that twice a week, but every 4 years we can't count 150 million ballots across the country in separate little pods. You know what I'm saying? Like we disseminated the load, to different counties, right? So it's not like the lottery where it's one person or one machine that has to do all the tallying. If it's a matter of will, we can do a secured election like this. We do it with the lottery, right? And we can do 78 million unique lottery tickets that are verifiable within seconds. Why can't we do that with elections?
Because Democrats would lose elections. Yeah. And, think about the most industrialized nations around the world have all secured their elections. Right. We're like the only country in the industrialized world that doesn't have a secure electoral process. And under President Donald Trump, that's not going to change thanks to the Safe America Act. It's
Yes.
passed the House. I am confident that it's going to pass the Senate thanks to Vice President J.D. Vance's tie-breaking vote. I think we're going to get there. I'm confident that we're going to get there. And we are. That is going to change the whole dynamic in elections in America for Democrats.
Absolutely. And it's, again, I appreciate the candor, and I really see the bravado of what Trump is doing differently in this first year, the first, almost year and a half now. But it's been breathtaking to see. Are you feeling like, are you seeing anything in the winds of change in Illinois at all where people are starting to say, well, maybe we need to clean up some things, or are they really still just going headlong until the brick wall hits them?
No, I think there was a key indicator during this last election in November. Democrats were having trouble getting petition signatures from Democrat voters in communities, particularly in Chicago's Black community. Why? Because $2.5 billion has been reallocated to make sure that illegal aliens have free healthcare, free housing, free food, while their own residents are sick. They're dying. They're homeless. They're on the streets. These are single moms who are domestic abuse survivors. These are veterans who are homeless out on the street. Chicago has a high infant mortality rate in the Black community, one of the highest in the country. Why? Because money for maternal health programs, clinics, hospitals, and those communities are falling apart. They have the healthcare is abysmal. It's third world because none of the money is available because it's been reallocated to make sure that illegal aliens have free healthcare, some of the best healthcare that the state government could provide. Right. This is what's turning the tide. Everyday voters, Democrat voters, they're sick and tired of living in squalor. They're sick and tired of their Democratic leadership reprioritizing them. Think about this. In the homeless community, homeless organizations are being pressured by the Illinois state government that forget about the single mom who's a domestic abuse survivor. Forget about that veteran who is now looking for a second chance to rebuild his life transitioning from a homeless shelter. Forget about that. Put them at the back of the line. You have to put illegal aliens at the front of the line. And if you don't, we're going to strip away your state funding. Yeah. These are the types of conversations that are happening all over northern Illinois. Yeah.
Well, we do have a census coming up. Is that correct, that there's going to be a census that only counts citizens only? Isn't there we have a census coming up. It's called the 2030 something or other, where it will be, the census will happen, and it should happen here in the next year, and then it will take effect in 2030, which completely will redistrictize all of the seats in the House. They're saying at this point what they know to be factual because of voter registers, not because of census records, but that there is going to be a dynamic shift in the House of Representatives of how many seats are available to who. Is that something that you've heard about? Is that something you're talking about?
Not at the moment, but certainly we will. We've been dealing with redistricting issues in Illinois. The National Democrat Party wants to cut out one more House district in Illinois. They already have 14 out of 17 congressional seats. They're getting greedy. They now want 15 out of 17. And so we're the most gerrymandered state in the country, yet we hosted the Texas Democrats complaining about Texas Republicans gerrymandering districts in Texas. Right. They run into the arms of the most gerrymandered state in the country. And Governor Pritzker campaigned in 2018 that he will not sign a gerrymandered bill. What did he do a couple of years later as governor? He signed a gerrymandered bill. But we're seeing the Democrats use their political powers in states like Illinois to drive out every Republican they possibly can. I mean, imagine thinking your own neighbor where you live, Jim. Yeah. Imagine that your next door neighbor who shares a property with you is in a completely separate congressional district. That's the type of things that are happening. You'll have 10 or 12 people on the same street that are in 3 different congressional districts. It's unbelievable. Wow. And it's corrupt.
Yeah, that's unfortunate that that's been allowed. And well, again, the statement I've said for a long time in my life is that when you normally lie, lying becomes normal. These people are very selfish and self-centered. They're very ego-driven. Obviously, it's about what makes them, flashy in that moment, but it's never about substance. It's never about quality or character of people. Mark, I'll give you a couple of minutes here to give us a spiel. Have everybody get a hold of you and be able to get a hold of your newsletter and stuff. Give them all that information so we can reach out to you.
I appreciate that. Follow us on Illinois Review on X and on Facebook, and IllinoisReview.com. That's ILLINOIS review.com. You can follow me at Mark A. Vargas on social media, and my Newsmax column called The Potomac Perspective. And we're breaking news. We're going after Pritzker for waste, fraud, and abuse. And we're putting numbers down on paper, $20 billion state government contracts given to his companies and his blind trust since he's been governor. $180 million in taxpayer money has gone to his one hotel in downtown Chicago for improvements. So we're covering all of that, exposing all of it. And so you'll get insight from the inside by following us.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you for doing that work. And I know you're kind of in the lion's den of things. And I do appreciate you being in there, man. I cannot be friendly. And the sad part of it is I'm sure there's a lot more friendly than I am even aware of, but there's just a lot of negativity that comes out of that area just because, the news is ruled by kind of the hysteria of what has happened to Chicago. I used to travel there, 15, 18 years ago, and would go downtown, and I thought it was really kind of a neat place, but I can't even imagine what it's like now, the way that things have changed so much and the way that they've treated the downtown area. So that's unfortunate. So anyway.
Well, it's an honor to stand up, to be a voice for the voiceless, to expose the corruption. And to borrow the words of Andrew Jackson, I was made for the storm. The calm doesn't suit me.
There you go, man. That's good stuff. I like that. All right, Mark, thank you so much. One more time, what's your website or what's your X account?
IllinoisReview.com and at Mark A. Vargas on X.
Very good, sir. All right, buddy. Well, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon, all right?
My pleasure. Take care. God bless.
Bye-bye. All right. What a great interview that was with Mark. And I think I actually I said his name wrong there at the end. I apologize to him about that. I think I did say, I don't know if I went to call him something else or anyway. Anyway, what a great interview that was with him and great information. I hope that you guys are understanding all the things we're talking about back and forth. I know we transitioned from the Younger Dryas era and the water comment to suddenly we're banging out some of the hot topics of the day, including Illinois Stargates. Not like, hey, man, you hear that Stargate movie? No, it's like a conversation like, hey, I'll be there. I'm flying there now. So, guys, a lot of this stuff may feel like it's a little bit out there, but there's a lot of things at play here. And a lot of this corruption and stuff we're dealing with is real just because of the selfish nature of the heart. And we know that. So we got to be the right people at the right time. We know these things are going on out there. So anyway, guys, it's been awesome. Got a great show today. We went all over the board on things, but sometimes those are fun too. Guys, have any questions or comments, get a hold of me. And, hey, get over there to Mark's newsletter and kind of keep up on what's going on. It's interesting how much they get away with in Illinois, and you'd be surprised. You'd think, like, oh, it's, they're, someone got their parking tickets taken care of. I wish. Anyway. All right, guys, that's going to be about it for me. It's been awesome seeing you guys. Guys, remember that 10% we do for our neighbor, our community, our city, our county, our state, our federal government. The more we do for them, the less they have to do for us. Learn how to be selfless and not so damn selfish. The world will be a far, far better place.
Hey, I got this great country I own, but I don't work at it, so why is it failing? If you were the owner of Walmart and you didn't show up to Walmart all the time and things weren't going, we were waiting, like, why is my Walmart not doing so great? Maybe you should get back, maybe you should get involved. Maybe you should put your shoulder behind them. Give it a good push. Give it a little stride. So it's our job to be involved in that. It's our job to be direct. That's our job. So I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, conservative, Libertarian, Green Party, whatever you want to be. It doesn't matter. It's your country. Put the work in. That's how it works. All right, guys, I'm going to be out of here. Clintons will be interviewed soon. Jet, goodbye to you too. Good. So daily update. You guys all be good to each other out there.